Matthew Stafford gets his reworked contract just in time for Rams training camp. Paul George said playing for the Clippers was like being on the B team, which of course it was. And Walker Buehler explains why he decided to become Florida man. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. And so it is July 24th, 2024. It's actually a lovely day, so I can't wait to go out and enjoy it. If you like, by the way, being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment. Now, before we go through the news notes, a look at the scoreboard. The Dodgers are now on a 5-game winning streak out of the All-Star break. They defeated San Francisco 5-2. Shohei Ohtani drove in 3 runs. Meanwhile, San Francisco stays in town for another fanny paddling tonight. They'll play the Dodgers at 7. Tyler Glasnow is 8-5 with a 3.47 ERA. He's returning from the injured list, and he's going to face Robbie Ray, who is 0-1 with an 8.10 ERA. What do you say we get to the news? It's funny to me how the minds of the younger scribes work. Having once been a scribe, having once been young. They want controversy so bad that sometimes they will literally try to will it into existence. For example, take the Rams. Matthew Stafford wanted a new deal. The Rams agreed and said they wanted to give him a new deal. But clearly the Rams must be lying, right? That was the idea that you read a lot in the papers and whatnot. Oh, surely there's going to be a holdout, right? Sean McVay burst that hope bubble with a truth needle yesterday. His presser was delayed for about 3 hours, and when he finally met them, deal done. Stafford has reported to camp. Now, we don't know what the deal is. We do know what the deal used to be. Stafford has 3 years left on a 4-year, $160 million contract. Only none of it was guaranteed beyond this year. We do know that there is not an extension as part of this new deal. Stafford wanted some guaranteed money. And we could assume, therefore, that that's part of this new deal. After all, his wife probably needs new podcasting equipment. Am I right? The Rams, how do I put this? Both the Rams and the Stafford had every incentive in the world to come to a new agreement. This was something both sides wanted. They see themselves, for example, the Rams, they see themselves as a playoff team. Possibly a team that could make a run in the playoffs, possibly a team that could flat out win the NFC West. But primary backup quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo would be suspended for the first couple of games due to taking banned substances. You don't have a lot of leeway when you're in the same division as Slime Francisco. So, if you're the Rams, do you really want to gamble with a potential Stafford holdout when you would consider that the alternative is to start third-string quarterback and known runaway Stetson Bennett under center? You really want to gamble your season on that? And of course, Stafford, of course, would want to stay. Consider, last year the guy passed for almost 4,000 yards. And he would be behind one of the largest offensive lines in the NFL. Last year's Rams offensive line conceded the 6th fewest sacks in the league. So in other words, for Stafford, of course he'd want to stay because he'd get paid, put up numbers, and be healthy. So now, sorry scribes, the biggest potential controversy has been rug pulled right from underneath your feet. What are the big questions now that the Rams are in training camp, right? You have to really think about it. Is it Cooper Kupp being healthy enough? Is it that young defensive line? Possibly, can they collaborate and replicate the results of one Aaron Donald? Now, in my opinion, it's probably neither of those things. I think the biggest question is if new defensive coordinator Chris Shula can fill the shoes of a Raheem Morris, can fill the shoes of a Brandon Staley or a Wade Phillips. That's what I'm looking for. But again, the biggest controversy does not exist. Stafford has himself his new deal. Meanwhile, tight end Tyler Higbee, in a move that was probably expected, was placed on the physically unable to perform list. If you recall, a Detroit defender targeted Higbee's knees in a dirty hit during the Rams-Lions playoff game. Meanwhile, with the Clippers, if you recall, last week, owner Steve Ballmer said a lot of very nice things about Paul George, who left for Philadelphia as a free agent. Ballmer again reiterated that he wanted to keep Paul George. The problem wasn't whether or not he could afford to keep Paul George. The problem was that the Clippers wouldn't be able to make any more meaningful transactions so long as they were under the evil second apron of the salary cap. And Paul George repaid Ballmer by knifing him in the back and throwing him over a cliff into the ocean. So, not a good look, P. George said he did not like hearing that the Clippers were the B team compared to the Lakers. And of course, George saved that for his podcast. Quote, I think initially coming back to LA, that was home, but it's not the same love. Because when I was in LA, they said, you should have been a Laker. That's all I was hearing. I'm on the B team. That's how the vibe and the love felt, unquote. First of all, you, playoff P, could have changed that. You could have won a title with Kawhi Leonard in 2020, back when you were young and healthy, your physical prime. Oh, that's what kills me, because so many people who want to hate on the Lakers' 17th title in the bubble, oh, it was so easy, life in the bubble, right? So easy. Well, if it was easy, why don't the Clippers have their title? Because they were one of the favorites to do that, remember? And if they had won it, the Clippers would hold the last NBA title won by an LA team, not the Lakers. But the Clippers didn't want to be there. You had a guard with an affinity for Atlanta nudie bars, for Pete's sake. Secondly, hate to break it to you, P, but you were a part of the B team. One of the reasons we all know you're part of the B team is that there is, just like there are a legion of Laker fans, there are legions of Clipper haters. I have yet to meet a single legit Clipper hater. They prefer the Lakers, but do they go out and look up Clipper results just so they can hate on you guys? No. You know what that means? You're the runt of the litter. You're lucky to be the B team. It's surprising you're not the J team. Third, P, nobody, and I mean nobody, has busted his ass and broken open his piggy bank wider than Steve Ballmer, specifically so that the Clippers could no longer be the B team. Everybody in that locker room gets paid. He built a brand spanking new state-of-the-art arena so that they would no longer have to live under the Lakers' shadow inside Crypto.com Arena. Finally, if you really want to feel the love, P, the last place on earth to move is Philadelphia. I mean, seriously, that place is as welcoming as like trying to build a synagogue in Beirut. What are you doing? If you want love, if you want to get paid, I get it. But if you want love, Philadelphia is not the place to be. Ask Santa Claus. So Ron Harper is a former Clipper. He won an NBA title in another town, but he took up for the Clippers. Told George to stop it and play harder. And that dude didn't even play for Steve Ballmer. He played for the Donald Sterling Clippers. He loved being in LA so much. Count your blessings, playoff P. Now, I want to be fair about the Clippers. We had been calling out the Lakers for floundering around in Summer League, but it is only fair to mention that Jordan Miller of the Clippers was flat out balling in Las Vegas. CBSSports.com thought he was the best player in Summer League because he scored more than 20 points in 4 games. He dropped 36 on Denver's scrubs. Shot more than 50% from the floor. Now, it is possible that Miller could parlay that into more playing time this year, but let's temper that belief. We were saying that about Max Christie with the Lakers last year, if you recall. Walker Buehler returned to Dodger Stadium for the first time in 34 days, and his initial return, if you recall, from a second Tommy John surgery, fizzled. Total faceplant. His ERA was a gnarly 5.84. His mechanics were so flawed that it led to hip pain. So he needed a reboot. Only Buehler did something that was a little goofy. He didn't do this reboot by staying in Los Angeles, by working with Dodger coaches. No. He decided to go across the country to a sports performance center, which I guess is fine, except he literally turned himself into the living, breathing meme, Florida Man. If you read online news, and it tends to be really goofy, what the F online news, it's always about Florida Man. Florida Man impregnates alligator. Florida Man steals Mickey Mouse head from Disneyland, runs nude through a junior high school. Florida Man shoots himself in the foot, pees on the wound. Florida Man. Florida Man. And so the press wanted to find out why the hell Buehler would go all the way back east and become Florida Man instead of working out his mechanics here. Quote, sometimes that second pair of eyes is not a bad thing. The last thing I would want is for anyone to think that it was any sort of indictment on the people that we have here. I just felt like we need to be somewhere else for a second, unquote. Now, to be clear, it's not that that performance center sucked. I looked up their website. They have worked with some of the bigger names in pitching. There is no set date for Buehler's return. We don't even know if his reworked mechanics will lead to better results. We do know, however, that he will get at least one rehab start in the minors. Florida Man gets his rehab soon. But I got to be real with you guys. After I left LA for 3 years, I lived in the Orlando area. And that alligator was the best sex I ever had. But seriously, folks. Running back Jalen Berger is transferring from Michigan State to UCLA. The Bruins will be the third team for the fifth-year senior. I don't know how much of the needle moves with him. Berger is likely going to be the third running back on the depth chart behind TJ Harden and Keegan Jones. Former USC guard Boogie Ellis did all he could to turn heads with the Sacramento Kings this summer. The undrafted free agent averaged more than 10 points per game in Summer League, which isn't great, but it doesn't suck. He was consistent. We don't know how long Ricky Puig will stay in Los Angeles. Ever since he came to the Galaxy from world soccer powerhouse FC Barcelona, it had been reported that the attacking midfielder would eventually want to return to Europe. It was just any day now. We just don't know when. This was something that the notoriously untrustworthy soccer press tried to turn into a narrative, if you remember a couple of off seasons ago, until the Galaxy social media team posted a clip of an extremely amused Puig telling everybody he was so bored in LA. And clearly from the look on his face, you knew he thought the whole thing was hilarious, because LA is one of the entertainment capitals of the entire planet. It's impossible to be bored out here. Well, it's a little more than a year later, and even if the 24-year-old eventually decides to return to Europe, he has clearly embraced not only being an Angeleno, but he has clearly embraced leadership with the Galaxy, even to the point where he goes to social media and he will take on comers if they start clowning the Galaxy. He even took on a former teammate and current TV analyst, Sasha Kljestan, to task. Kljestan predicted at the start of the year that the Galaxy were going to finish in 11th. And Puig remembered that. So Puig called out all the analysts who thought that the Galaxy were going to stink. And Kljestan clapped back. So there was a little beef. The two have apparently worked it out, but Puig remains on high alert for disrespect. Quote, "I've had to come out and say something because it hasn't sat well with some of us, especially his former teammates. We talked yesterday and all good. I think he knows there are some times he talked too much about the Galaxy situation," unquote. Now, as for the current year, the Galaxy, they need Puig. They love having Puig on the team. Because not only is he trying to be a leader, he scored 8 goals, he has 11 assists, he leads the MLS in touches, he leads the MLS in fouls earned. If he wasn't injured for part of the season, he would be in the MVP conversation. They had a skills competition for MLS All-Stars last night. He won it. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me about Matthew Stafford and now the Rams having smooth sailing, allegedly, for training camp. Are you okay with Paul George clowning the Clippers on his way out the door? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.